How's everyone enjoying the con so far? My name is Jeremy Bush, and I have the extreme pleasure of moderating this panel. Do I have any Fringe fans in the audience? Lord of the Rings fans? And Sleepy Hollow fans? It is my incredible pleasure to introduce to you Mr. John Noble.
That didn't work, did it? Hello. Hello. Is that doing something? Tell me if you can't hear me and I'll just shout. That's wonderful to see you all anyway. Sorry, Jimmy, over here. No,
they're not here to see me.
I'm ashamed of myself. I see some familiar faces out there too. Some. I'll have some more later. Okay, go.
So we're gonna start the panel with about 15-20 minutes of just questions that I've actually prepared because I'm shaking. And then for the last two panels we had me walk through the audience and hand a mic. Instead we've got a mic in that aisle right there. If you would like to line up when we call for you, just line up there and we'll just go through the run that way. That would be much easier than having me walk through the audience again. So I just for selfish reasons, because that's who I am, you voiced Scarecrow in Arkham Knight. Leading up to that point, Scarecrow was always a very shy, quiet, and almost like weakly voiced character. And you brought such gravitas to the role. How did you decide to go that route with the voice and how you portrayed Scarecrow?
Thank you. Well, I guess the first part about it is that they wouldn't have asked me to do it if they didn't want this voice. But also, it's a beautiful process when you go into one of these rooms because there's a producer and a director there, and you start to talk. You just, well, what about this? Or what about that? Or what about this? And then what we would do, we'd send some samples across to Britain where it's all being put together, and they come back and they'd say, oh, we love that one, or can you do that? So it's a bit of a collaboration going forward. And I would offer up as many as they wanted, really. I didn't mind different variations of the voice. So eventually, hello, darling. Do you think I'm talking a lot of rubbish? I might have to get him up on stage in a minute. I love kids. Scarecrow, Batman, yeah. So that's the process, and then it goes on over a long period of time too, Jeremy. It's on that particular show we voiced that. I voiced it over 2 years, you know. Wow. Coming back, it's so detailed. You come back and do more, and you do more, and you do these exhausting 6-hour recording sessions, which doesn't sound much. It's so exhausting being in there talking for 6 hours. But I love doing it, and that's how it came about.
Out of your course of your career, I know I mentioned the 3 big hits for a lot of the audience here. What is your favorite role that you have ever played?
Thanks for that, Jeremy. No, I mean it. I mean, I've been so lucky in my career to play so many roles that I liked. But Henry, no. I don't know what I was saying then. Where's my head went? I thought of an actor that I knew 40 years ago called Henry Salter, and I was going to say his name. Is this aging? I think it must be. Sorry, Walter Bishop. Walter Bishop is my favourite. If I could have, someone had said to me a few years ago, all right, sit down and write the perfect role for yourself that you want to evolve over 5 years. I would have said, oh, I want to do this fellow, this fellow. No, that looks like Walter Bishop. It would have been. It was such a gift. And then I was very fortunate to work with some writers who knew that whatever they presented to me, I was game to go for it. I mean, I just love getting challenges. And I was always experimenting and making things up, and they'd say, yes, we can use that. So we finished up in this extraordinary collaboration where they'd throw really hard things at me, and then I'll do certain things. And my only condition with the writers was to say, look, with the science, at least make it, in theory, no matter how far out, make it feasible. Make it feasible, because otherwise I don't want to do it. Do you know what I mean? And so even if it was some extension of quantum mechanics, if it was feasible, then Walter would do it, give it their shot. And they were really good about that, because sometimes they like to put in absolutely rubbish experiments. And I said, well, Walter must be very drunk or high to even do this. And if they stuck with it, that's the way I played it, you know. Thank you.
Your role in Lord of the Rings was a very contentious father role. Your role in Fringe, to the same degree, was a difficult relationship with Peter, who wasn't technically your son, or half of your son. And then your role, it kind of reversed for Sleepy Hollow, where you've got this contentious relationship with your parents. How did those roles inform each other, or how did you feed through those roles?
Look, we all belong to families, yeah? And if we think about that, we probably understand some of the issues that happen between parents and their children, even in very healthy families. So that's a bit of a no-brainer, really. I use that as a base, but oh my goodness. You know, even with Denethor, who mostly people hated him when I did him, you know, I had little children running away from me on the street. That's a true story, I didn't make that up, by the way. Oh my goodness. But I understood him. I understood him, and I went back and I understood why he had reached this point in his life. I actually really understood it. And had I not understood it, had I not done that work, then he would have been a two-dimensional character, and he wouldn't have worked. Do you understand? So in terms of delivering what I had to deliver in some of those awful lines he had to deliver, you know, when he says, would you rather I had died in front of, instead of him, I say, yes, I wish that. What a rotten thing to say, do you know? But pushed into a corner, that's what he said. Can we close that door, mate? Thanks. So, you know, you make all this, with the Peter one, Joshua Jackson is a lovely man, a dear friend of mine, and like a son to me. We just made this decision that we were going to make this father-son relationship so real, so true, so hard, all the way through, and we never stopped discussing it. We didn't suddenly say, oh, I forgive you for everything and move on. It's too hard. And that was an incredible joy to work with the Canadian Josh Jackson. What a beautiful man. So we did that, and we kept ourselves honest at all times. With the other one, Sleepy Hollow, oh, I don't know. I'm this 70-year-old man with teenage angst, and who's got this mother and father who are the handsomest couple I've ever seen. His mother is so hot. And I go, oh dear, how do you do this? This is really bent and twisted. That one took a bit more of a stretch, I have to tell you. But it was kind of funny after a while when I realised, no, this poor kid has teenage angst. He was probably buried at 15 or 16, all those unresolved issues about everything that we have at 15 and 16, and suddenly he comes back and he's still got them. He hasn't gone anywhere since then, and that's kind of fun to play that. Although he was quite extraordinary, wasn't he? He went from that stage, and suddenly, at the beginning of the next season, he was a lawyer. What? No, don't ask. Just assume that he's very bright and he did it by correspondence or something or other. Those little leaps you could take, sort of thing. And I had to study I had to do this incredible study on witchcraft and superstition, because I didn't really follow it too much. And I'm wading through these books and you've got to be kidding, but it's all in there. Sleepy Hollow covered it all, so it was just when I read about it. That one was a toughie for me. I've done other father-son roles. But they're the stuff of life, aren't they? You know, relationships and families, they're the stuff of life. And so it's so real to me to do those things, whilst dealing with other issues, bigger issues perhaps. Next question, please.
You have that dynamic turn in Sleepy Hollow where you go from Henry Parish, who's just been helpful all the way along, to the aptly named Jeremy Crane. How does your mind...
Just got it. You're talking about you or Batman.
Yeah. How do you change that dynamic so quickly, or so. How did you manage that?
Because I try to be an honest human being. Honest meaning not I'm a good human being, but honest about how we change. Look at our emotions. We can change, can't we? Seriously, like that. We can flip like that. Given a stimulus of some description, we can go to be a really good mood. Someone says something that triggers, and we're in a fury. You know the triggers that hit us? Sure you do. Sure you do. So when you're acting these things, you just have to observe that. You're not locked into one state all day. Something will happen, and you will change. And that's what I do with the characters too. So there'll be a point in the preparation where I'll say, that trigger is going to happen here. So you go from being this nice man to be turning into something else. It's all very real, and it's all very true of us. And that's what I apply to my acting. Thank you.
So if you'd like to start lining up for audience questions, feel free. The microphone, like I said, is in that aisle right there. Please don't be shy. Come on down. And while we get people lining up, I just want to ask, when was the last time you had red vines? Or are you never going to eat them again for the rest of...
How's bed bugs?
Red vines.
Oh, red vines. Bed bugs would have been a better question. I don't like red vines. I don't like them at all. And they became this little thing that started off, and then suddenly it became like one of the water things. And then the people who made red vines started to send in boxes of them to the studio and everything. And then wherever I went, people were bringing me boxes of red vines. And I don't know how to stop this thing. I was doing a convention just a couple of weeks ago, and there was people, and I had to confess, I said, look, I don't eat them, but I'll sign them for you. That was the solution. So they get to keep the red vines, they got a free signature. No, I can't do it. I quite like literature, but not red vines.
So your character on Fringe, one of the major story arcs for him was his journey from the realization that, just because you can doesn't mean you should, and the limits of science and how far should you go or shouldn't you go. So I'm curious as to what you think in terms of, scientific discovery. How much should we be trying to unlock, and how, where do we draw that line?
We should be trying to unlock everything we possibly can in science. Everything. I get so excited when I talk about this, and I do read this stuff all the time. I get so excited, and I don't know, it's real. However, it's not the science, it's how we human beings manipulate the science. And a lot of the times we manipulate it really beautifully. Seriously, it makes our lives better, it helps all sorts of things. Occasionally in the wrong hands, as we all know, it's incredibly destructive, and sometimes it just feeds the motor of greed and all those things that we hate. But science is beautiful beyond expression to me, so let's go for it. Thank you.
I just went through like 5 different questions in my head, and I'm like, ah! But anyways, may I say that I love a lot of your work that you've done. It started with Fringe for me, but then I nerded out over everything else. But my question is going to be, Fringe, can you imagine that maybe down the road they might ever decide to do a movie or some kind of tie-in or something like that? Would that be possible?
Thank you. That's a question that really is asked a lot and interests. I don't know. I mean, I think had something been proposed fairly close to the event, I think that we could have. People go different ways and we all get older, I don't believe that it would come back with the cast that we had. People have gone in different directions. So I don't think that'll happen. Look, the bottom line, as much as we love what we talk about and love to talk about our craft and the bottom line in entertainment is money, and if something can't be seen to make money, then it's not done. And that's particularly in cities in this day and age. Okay? you know. And what excites me about it, and I hope excites you about it, is our own creativity. Our own creativity, which brings me to tears sometimes, how beautiful it is that exists within all of us. And so we are told, well, you can't do that unless you can make money from it. Oh, wrong. So wrong, you know. No, we do it because that is to be human, to do this sort of stuff. But to get that made, it's going to cost $100 million, and that's it. You know.
No, the reason I asked that is because you have, when Fringe started, Walter was this pathetic kind of lost creature that nobody really understood or felt any sympathy for. But your range of acting throughout the entire series, you had Walter lost on a bench, you had dynamic Walter controlling an entire universe. Like, when you see all those Walters, you think, well, gee, there's so much left more. We want to see where he would grow next. So we would probably pathetically like be down on the ground going, please give us more. But no, thank you for answering my question.
Thank you, Dylan. Yeah, I understood the second part as well. Look, parents aren't supposed to have favourites. Look, there are a lot of factors. There are a lot of factors as to why he preferred Faramir. If you look at the stories, the birth of Faramir, perhaps the death of his wife, all those factors will come into play in his descent into whatever he was into. But if it was me, Willie, I would love them both enormously. Thank you.
Thank you.